This is Laugh or Death, hosted by keynote speaker Paul Ozenkup.
Okay, I'm very excited to have my guest here today. Ric Keller is a speaker, lawyer, and former U.S. Congressman. He's got an awesome TEDx talk called The Power of Self-Deprecating Humor. And while Ric was educated at Harvard University and Vanderbilt Law School, he was also once fired from Wendy's. So welcome, Ric. Happy to have you here.
Thanks, guy. Good to be with you, Paul.
Yeah, I really appreciate you doing this. You know how the podcast works. We always start off asking, what is something weird about you that you love, or something weird that makes you happy? So let us have it.
I would say a couple weird things if you would ask my daughter. Like right now, I'm 61, living in a dorm, no job, no car. My daughter calls it the rise and fall of Ric Keller. So she thinks that's a little weird. I would say in terms of weird hobbies, I actually enjoy studying commencement speeches, which I don't know if you ever heard anyone who likes doing that, but I think people
I don't know of anyone
to...
that even likes commencement speeches.
I've
even done a couple and I don't like them.
Yeah. I think people like, say, Steve Jobs or others, I think they tend to bring their A game when they're asked to think about their life and summarize it all in about 10 or 15 minutes. And so I really enjoy hearing what highly successful people have to say in the context of a commencement speech, even far more than their biographies, actually.
Yeah. Ric, that is one of the coolest and nerdiest things I've ever, I could just picture you just sitting there like, oh, that was a good commencement speech. Let's do another one. Do you take notes? Like, okay, if I were to give one, here's what.
Yeah, I do take notes, and there's some that just really move me, and the ones that move me really are even alike each other. Like I love Steve Jobs that he gave at Stanford. Ellen DeGeneres gave a beautiful one at Tulane.
Oh, I don't think I saw Ellen's.
Yeah, it's very funny.
Conan O'Brien gave a really good one as well.
Well, he's about to be our commencement speaker at Harvard in a few days, so I'll look forward to hearing what he has to say.
Oh, wow, nice. Well, I know that he gave one. I don't know if it was at Harvard maybe years ago or if it was somewhere else, but I thought it was awesome. So yeah, that's really cool, man. He's coming back to the old stomping grounds just for you.
Coming back here where he was, president of the Harvard Lampoon. So it's kind of cool.
That's right. So, okay. So you are, 60 years old, something like that?
61 now.
61. Okay. And you are living in a dorm at Harvard. And does that make you feel more out of place being 61, living in a dorm, or being a Republican being at Harvard?
Neither one make me feel out of place. I feel like Thoreau living in a cabin here, man. I absolutely love it. I love it. I have my own little dorm room. My kids think it's hysterical, but I love it. I'm a few feet from class. I don't even have my own bathroom or refrigerator or anything, which is across the hall, but it's just so peaceful. And I get to study here and get to meet a lot of cool people. People thought it would be nuts being a Republican at Harvard. Only 3% of the professors are conservative, 77% are liberal, and the numbers for students are very similar. But it's been a joy. I decided to do an experiment, and rather than sit around watching cable TV, I completely disconnected my cable for a year and spend every day hanging out socially, face-to-face with people who are different than me, different political views, different religious views, different sexual orientation, different cultural backgrounds. And it's been a joy, really. I think it's hard to hate up close. And I think when people get to know each other, we find out that we're a lot more than just being a Republican, or a lot more than just being whatever your particular religious dogma is. We have a lot of other stuff in common, like comedy or yacht rock music or riding motorcycles or hobbies and other stuff.
Yeah, I completely agree with you about I always say, when I'm doing communication workshops and conflict resolution workshops and stuff, it's harder to hate someone when you know their story. The more we know about people, the more we can empathize with them a bit. And so I imagine being in that setting, and also what a cool experience to be back at college, living in the dorms, but with the wisdom of just years of living life too. I imagine it's so eye-opening.
Yeah, it's been amazing, and I like the diversity of young students and others, and everybody has really kind of gone out of their way to make me feel included. You would think that I wouldn't be nervous about some things, but I am. I took a a positive psychology class, which was a lecture course. And they had us in a section meeting and they said, okay, there's 18 students. We're going to divide up into groups of 4 or 5. We'd gone around the room, everybody telling a fun fact about themselves. And mine was I just happened to have climbed Kilimanjaro. And I was nervous because like all these 19-year-old, 20 kids know each other and I don't know anybody. And so like, what am I going to do here? And one of the kids next to me goes, hey, Rick, would you be in our group? And I'm like, yeah, what do you want to call it? They go, we're going to call it Summit, my man, for Kilimanjaro. And then the next kid beside me, yeah, we want you in our group too. So people have really, gone out of their way to include me. Like you, I'm a big fan of stand-up comedy, and they have a really cool Harvard undergraduate stand-up comedy society here. But it's just for undergrads, and I'm not an undergrad. So I reached out to them and said, hey, can I be a part of your club? And they welcomed me with open arms. So we would meet every Tuesday night and exchange ideas, bits and stuff. And we're talking about really funny people, some of whom are going to go write for Saturday Night Live, and invited me to be the only graduate student to perform at their comedy show. And so people have been really, really inclusive. I mean, it is liberal as hell for sure, but liberal does not equate with exclusionary. I find that people here to be liberal, but they're not exclusionary. I find them to be very inclusive and kind.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of liberals would like to believe that that's what we're all. One of the reasons I was excited to have you on the podcast is because you're a Republican former congressman. I'm, what they would call a radical left liberal. They're saying I'm very, very radical, but I love to be able to just kind of chat with people with different viewpoints, and I don't even know where our conversation will go, but I think one thing that my fellow radical left liberals like to think is that we're inclusive, but I think that any of us, when we get in our own little bubbles, can kind of exclude other people or get into a hive mindset or whatever. So that's cool that you're that you're feeling that, like people are asking you to do that. And also what I find really cool about that story is that even as adults, we have fears and insecurities, and we just like want to belong. So, because it sounded to me like from that story that there was like a little bit of like, oh, cool, yeah, like they like me enough to be part of the group, which is such like a childhood mindset, or we think of children feeling that way, but even as adults we feel that way, like at a new job or something.
Yeah, absolutely. And I spent 33 years as a politician and a lawyer, and so I developed this framework called the law framework to help people communicate better. And the L is for listening to understand. And that involves essentially curiosity and humility. And a good example of that, since you gave a great TED Talk, that's how I first discovered you, was I'd always wanted to give a TED Talk, a TEDx talk. And I was invited to give one down the University of South Florida. And I'm driving down there for the first meeting, and they told me that they had assigned a 19-year-old mentor to teach me how to give a speech or to give a better speech. And at that point in my life, I had already served 4 terms in Congress. I'd been a trial attorney for 30 years. I'd given about 1,000 speeches. But on my drive down there to meet with my mentor, her name was Evelyn, for the first time, I said out loud, like a crazy person, like, keep an open mind, keep an open mind, keep an open mind. I wanted there to be positive vibes when I met her. And long story short, in the course of our working relationship, Evelyn gave me about 9 or 10 suggestions, things that she wanted me to do different. And I accepted all of her suggestions, 100%. And you know what? It's the best speech I've ever given in my life. And it wouldn't have been that way if I thought I knew it all and I didn't keep an open mind. That's
great. Not to mention, I mean, she's going to be one of your audience members and potentially the demographic. So it's like, yeah, I mean, if for whatever reason she thought something in your speech could have been better, or, hey, I didn't understand this or whatever, it's like, yeah, well, I want my audience member to get it. Yeah. So yeah, that I love the image of you driving down the road too. Like, okay, keep an open mind, keep an open mind.
Literally. It was literally out loud. Yeah.
That's really cool too, because you and I both talk a lot about humility, and just trying to show up with a sense of not taking yourself too seriously in leadership, that kind of stuff. But that doesn't always mean being funny or even self-deprecating humor. Like literally just carrying yourself lightly and being open to new experiences and things like that. And that's such a great example of like, look, I've served in Congress. I'm a trial attorney. What's some 19-year-old going to teach me about giving a talk? Like, you could have gone in there with that attitude, and who knows how things would have ended up.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. And I think, in terms of this listening element, for me, I think too many people listen for the flaw. They're listening to like, oh, I'm going to wait till Paul says a mistake and then I'm going to drop some fact on him. And then that's going to, persuade him. And that's worked like 0% times in life. And I define success not by whether I changed your opinion, but whether I understood it in the first place. If I can say, tell me your opinion, Paul. And I go, look, before I go on, you believe A, B, and C. Do I get this right? And you're like, okay, yeah, you did. Just by virtue of me caring enough to figure out what your views are and stating it back to you to show that I'm not just nodding my head, that I really heard you. The studies show it's far more likely for you to keep an open mind, when I have something to say. And even if you keep an open mind and we go back and forth and we don't end up persuading each other, at least we've preserved the relationship for another day. And so I think listening to understand, truly to understand, not to persuade, is incredibly important.
Oh, absolutely. Because we all want to feel heard. I mean, we all want to feel like, oh, this person at least gets where I'm coming from, even if they don't agree. That's the first step of really any conversation, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And there's this guy, you probably heard of him, this famous psychologist named John Gottman. He writes a lot about relationships and marriages. And he has this stat that says even in happy marriages, 69% of arguments are never resolved. And they don't have to be resolved. It's just people need to be able to talk to each other in a civil way where at least you feel respected. It's not necessary that we have to agree on everything.
Oh, man, I haven't heard that stat, but now I feel seen. That's good. I'm like, oh, okay, good. It's not just me that has like arguments that are just lingering out there that never got figured out. Great. Okay, good.
That's right.
So I'm curious. So in your TEDx talk, you talk about a little bit about how you became a congressman. How did that come about?
Yeah, so I had a really good break when I was a kid in that I couldn't afford to go to college. And my mom's boss, who was an 81-year-old guy, I went and met with him and asked him if his company would be able to give me a charitable contribution to go to college. And he said, I'm just the president. We have to ask the board of directors, come back on Tuesday. And I came back and he said the board met and they decided they will not be able to help you get to college. Nothing personal, but if they did that for you, they'd have to do it for everybody. And I just said, thank you. And I started just like crying, like it hit me. I'm not going to be going to college. And he said, son, you can wipe the tears away. I said the company couldn't put you through college. I didn't say that I couldn't. And with that, he stroked a check and I was off to college and I was lucky enough to graduate first in my class. And that got me to Vanderbilt Law School. And I just had this crystal clear mission that I was supposed to go to Congress and help other poor kids be able to go to college by increasing financial aid called Pell Grants, which I'm sure you're familiar with it.
Yeah, so I got a Pell Grant, so thank you.
Yeah. And so when I filed my papers to run, and it was just a disaster because I was in my mid-30s and I was running against all the big names, the mayors and the state legislators, and my campaign was just a disaster. I was losing by 27 points in the polls. I was out fundraised 4-1. The leader of my own party asked me to drop out. And it was a dark time, man. And I'm not saying I was dead, but that kid from the movie Sixth Sense could see me at that point. And then I got a call
I
in
see
my
Ric
law
Keller's
office.
campaign.
That's right. I got a call in my law office that invited me up to this fundraiser in D.C. where some CEOs were getting together for the first time and invited 16 finalists to speak. And I was the last one to speak. My competition were famous guys. Mike Pence was one of them. But they were all serious, and I was the last person to speak. And I'm like, I'm so far behind. I have nothing really to lose. And I just said, guys, I've been here in the back of the room for hours. I feel like Elizabeth Taylor's seventh husband on his honeymoon night. Technically, I know what I'm supposed to do, but at this point, I don't know how to make this interesting. And they laughed for the first time that day, and that relaxed me all of a sudden. And I spoke passionately without notes, and that little talk changed everything. They ranked me #1 in the country, and they spent $400,000 to support me. And a few months later, against all odds, I won a seat in the United States Congress. And so it was humor, really, that kind of got me there, or at least not taking myself too seriously got me there.
That's amazing. And you were able, I know, to eventually pass some legislation, right, around your Pell Grants?
Yeah, it was a lucky break. The head of my education committee drank too much wine and was all tan and chain smoker. Nobody'd heard of him. His name was John Boehner. And I was the only one that backed him in the whole state of Florida. And so when John won, pulled off this big upset, he's like, "What would you like, Rick?" And I said, "Well, I'd like to be the chairman of the higher education committee because I could help poor kids go to college." And he handed me the gavel and said, get to it, Mr. Chairman. And then I was able to use that position to increase Pell Grants by 62%, and 5.5 million people got their chance to go to college. And so kind of the big takeaway I took for that for life is that I thought back to Mr. Overstreet, and I was like, wow, one little act of kindness really can change someone's life, might even change the world. He changed over 5 million lives. And so I took that to heart.
Yeah. And it's cool how that chain of events too, like, it took that act of kindness. It took your wherewithal to use a little self-deprecating humor during your talk, so that that wasn't what qualified you to be in Congress, but that's what got the attention of everybody to go, oh, this guy might be someone we could back. And then it took you backing the right guy and also having the plan to like, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to do good for people. All those things together, you just never know where things are going to end up. One day you too could be a 60-year-old living in a dorm.
Yeah, that's funny. That's right, man. I like something you said too, though, about like just creating, a culture of levity, because someone like you, Paul, like you're gifted. You have, and I think there is an innate component to humor. Obviously, we can have better skills, but I think anybody, whether you're naturally gifted like you or others, you can create a climate of levity at work. Like I love it when we go into a meeting and strangers and the boss says, "Okay, we're going to go around the room and everybody tell me one fun fact about yourself that we wouldn't see on your resume." You don't have to be a funny guy to do that, but it creates this environment that, it opens up the room for levity. And then I think people are more likely to tell that boss if something's going wrong. They're not scared of him. They can chime in, and it makes it a more creative workplace. And so I don't think a person to be able to fully appreciate humor doesn't mean you have to be the funniest guy in the room. You just have to appreciate the value of levity, I think, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's why I always start my show with like, what's something weird that you love or something weird about yourself that makes you happy? Because and Harvard Business Review did a study, and they had teams that were supposed to come up with creative solutions to complex problems. And they had some teams just get right into problem solving mode. Another team, everyone first go around and share your greatest accomplishment and then start solving. And then another group, everyone share something embarrassing from your life. And the embarrassing moment group outperformed the other two groups by 25%. 25% more solutions and more creative solutions generated, because just like what you said, like if we carry ourselves lightly, we open up and make a psychologically safe space for other people to just show a little bit of who they are, and so as you're telling us about yourself and the listener can kind of get a picture of like, oh, yeah, this guy graduated from Harvard and he's an attorney and was a congressman, but he also seems like a pretty chill guy, that I could like hang out with. Yeah.
Well, it's funny, you use that term psychological safety, and I think that's like everything. Like when I take a deposition of someone, they tell me everything. And the reason is if they tell me, points 1 through 3 and 4, and 4 hurts them and 1, 2, or 3 are bad, I don't say, well, you admit number 4, right? I say, okay, let me make sure I got this right. It's points 1, 2, 3, and 4. Did I get that right? And then when I present their side, I don't do it as a caricature to make funny. To make fun of it, I do it fairly and listen to what they have to say. And as a result, they feel safe and they will tell you anything. Yeah. And that was kind of my technique as a trial lawyer. I was very lucky for 25 years. I never had a jury give me a bad result. And one of the reasons is I just don't BS them. Like the typical lawyer will say, my side is great, and here are all the great parts about my side, and Paul's side sucks, and here are his biggest weakness. And they think that persuades people, but it doesn't persuade people. I mean, to be persuasive, you have to be believed, and to be believed, you have to be credible, and to be credible, you got to tell the truth, the whole truth in a fair way. And if you're just willing to do that, and you tell the good side and the bad side, it makes you so much more credible, and they're going to be with you. And that's one of the reasons I love the self-deprecating humor, because it's your way of telling the truth and being human. And it just sends a message of, look, man, I don't hold myself out as perfect. I know that I'm flawed, but I'm a good guy. I believe in myself, and you should too. And it takes a little bit of self-confidence to be able to do that. But I think too many people, I don't know what your observation is, Paul, is that they're hung up on being perfect. Like, fake it till you make it, put your best foot forward, never let them see you sweat. And I think the way we connect is exactly the opposite, just by being human and vulnerable.
Oh, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I think that being self-deprecating or being vulnerable or authentic, it does take confidence. You know, there's like this balancing act of like confidence and humility. And humility without any confidence is just pure self-deprecation to the point of we start feeling sorry for someone. But if you're confident enough to know, hey, I'm worthy, I'm good, I'm competent at what I do, and I can make mistakes, I can be a jackass, whatever. That is kind of a sweet spot because confidence without any humility is just arrogance. And I also wonder, like, I think today's day and age, because everyone is on social media, you know, everyone is essentially a TV star now. Whereas like when we were growing up, TV was very manufactured, and it was, we saw whatever the 5 channels or whatever let us see. But now everybody can be on screen, and so I think we're able to sniff through bullshit way quicker and see like, oh, this is fake, like, or that person doesn't seem like they're being real. And we're really pulled into content when somebody is being themselves or being vulnerable, and that kind of thing. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, if I had a magic wand and I could say to like my kids and other people, if you could only do one thing to be happier, I would say turn off the cable television news. I think we're getting this information in silos. So I know every single thing that Sean Hannity's going to say before he says it. I know every single thing. It's just playing to the base. I know everything they're going to say on MSNBC before they say it. They're just playing to the base. And so even if you're a Republican, you're like, okay, I'm just going to watch this confirmation bias and listen to Hannity for 3 hours. It's going to piss you off and make you angry because you're just going to hear for 3 hours how much the other side sucks. And it presents this image that we're so different than each other. And it's a fake image. They did a Pew Research, did a study where they analyzed political tweets, and they found out that 73% of political tweets are by 6% of the people. It's these fringe elements who, I guess you could call them conflict entrepreneurs, make more money by pissing everybody off and getting more clicks and stuff. And so I don't think cable TV news does anything to make you happy at all. I'm thrilled to see podcasts increase. Like if I watch a podcast with Megyn Kelly, like, oh my God, it's not the same Megyn Kelly as when she was on Fox. She will tell you whatever she thinks on any issue. Some days Trump sucks, some days she likes him, but she'll just tell you. And I like the long format of people having their own independent voice, and they can just tell you honestly what they think.
Yeah, I haven't really thought about that, but that's such a good point. That the more that it's easy to joke about like, oh, there's so many podcasts out there. And I even, when I launched this podcast, was like, well, per mandatory requirements of being a middle-aged white guy, I've launched my own podcast because it just seems like such a middle-aged white dude thing to do. But you're right. The more that people can kind of own their own media now, the more voices are out there, and the more that we can get differing opinions and nuanced opinions. Like I know right now, people are like, wow, Joe Rogan is really splitting from Donald Trump and not agreeing with everything he's doing. Well, he doesn't have to, like he can. He's got a massive podcast that he's created on his own, so he's not owned by Fox or anybody else, so he can have whatever opinions he wants, just as the Midas Touch guys on the left can create their own podcast and have their own thoughts that are separate from MSNBC or whatever. So I think that nuanced diversity of thoughts is really good for us. And that's maybe why you and I are both drawn to comedy too, because I think comedy brings that perspective as well of like, well, if I'm only thinking on a surface level, I'll never find what's funny in a situation. Like I've got to see things from all sorts of different perspectives.
Yeah, I think so. And I kind of like trust the listeners with comedy. I think, like, for example, I spoke at Harvard and I was telling at this comedy performance, and I was telling people this opening joke that I was going to do, and they're like, dude, don't say that, man. Just don't say that. It's so over the top, inappropriate, liberal. And I go, just trust me. They're going to be fine. It's so over the top that they're going to know that I'm full of shit. Like they're going to be able to pick up on it. And so what my joke was, and it went by, and I just said, hey, I just came back from the bookstore and I paid $80 for this Harvard sweatshirt. And it's like made in Vietnam with child labor. And it's a problem, man. We're paying these kids too much damn money, you know? Like, does they need 89 cents a day, every day? You know, daddy's on a budget, you know? These early bird meals won't pay for themselves. And these liberal kids laugh hysterically. They know you're just having fun, you know?
Yeah.
I think we've become a little bit too cancel culture-y and scared to take risk a little bit. And I think comedy for me is the one last place that's sacred. Like a comedian should be able to say anything he wants, however inappropriate. It would be wildly inappropriate to say something the day after 9/11 about 9/11, but I think a comedian should be allowed to do it. I think it's the one last bastion of free speech.
Well, I completely agree with that. I mean, it's funny because I do a lot of work with organizations and leaders, like humor at work. And to me, that is a completely different beast than comedy. Because to me, comedy is humor in the form of art. And art, for the most part, just doesn't need to be censored, because audiences will censor to their own delight. Like if you say things that are just very shocking and over the top and not funny, you're just not really going to get hired. There's not going to be an audience for it. So, you can test that stuff out in the art space, which is the comedy club. But like humor at work, you need to be appropriate. There are some kind of guidelines and things to be able to not be offending and alienating people, and you want your humor to be more inclusive. But I totally agree with you that, like, hey, try that joke out. Like, if you want to see if these liberal kids will laugh at your joke, and I think part of the reason that joke worked is because it's kind of taking the piss out of you. Like you're playing into this character as like this, white guy, conservative, older dude that's like, I mean, do they really need that much cents on the dollar? I mean, come on. Like, so they're kind of like, oh man, of course this guy wants to pay him less. Like that's the punchline. And that's also just how comedy works, is you set them up and then
the twist,
surprise them with the punchline. So I think that's great. But if they didn't laugh, and then you were like, okay, well, I'm going to try that joke a little different way, one or two more times, and you don't get any laughs, chances are you're going to retire that joke because the audience has spoken.
No, in your particular case, it's interesting because you have this great keynote speaking business, and I know you do stand-up comedy too. Do you feel like, is it scratching an itch to do stand-up comedy because you can be a little more R-rated than you could be at a keynote corporate speech?
Sometimes, It's a good question. Like sometimes, yes, like I'll get on stage and I'll be able to say things. Particularly, we've got a more R-rated improv show that I do that is like, I mean, I've played a penis, between someone's legs before. So it's like anything, whatever. But I try to, even when I'm writing and doing stand-up, I try to still make it about 90% clean, because I'm also trying to test material that I could do corporate. But there are some jokes that I still wouldn't do. And I find myself in a similar situation as you. Like I'm doing comedy a lot of times here in Bozeman, Montana, and we've got a very mixed ideological culture. It's a college town, so we get a lot of college students who tend to be a little bit more liberal. But we've got, it's a red state. And I've got a joke about like a buddy who is preparing for, some big war between us and the immigrants, and he's like a prepper, and it's like, and he's like, well, hey, I'm just ready. I got to be prepared to take any steps I got to take. And I'm like, well, the leading cause of death of white dudes is cancer and heart disease. So the steps you got to take are called stairs.
Yeah, that's
and
really, yeah.
and so I've got this whole bit about like this guy, whatever. And so that usually gets a lot of laughs, but it can depend. I mean, I see people in the audience that are like, I don't know. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
And that's stuff that like, it's a little bit more political, but I wouldn't ever use that in a corporate environment. But so it is fun for me to be able to test it out,
Yeah. I have the most respect for stand-up comics because it's taken me a while. We're doing it a couple of years, but like I have 15 minutes of stuff that I know works. It's like I joke every 10 seconds, and when you have that, it's so tempting to always use that because you know it's going to go well, but you
Yeah.
can't. And so you have to take those bold steps of trying new stuff. And it seems like when I try new stuff, like 1 out of 7 times, it goes well. But you have to have that boldness. Like you can't get lazy and rely on those 15-minute stuff that always works, right?
Yeah. It's cool that you are doing comedy though. And you're exactly right. I mean, it's like a test kitchen, just for jokes instead of food. And you go, this worked, or this needs a tweak in the recipe a little bit. And you go back the next time. And I think once you get over like saying a joke and hearing silence,
Yeah.
to me, like it's taken a long time to get to that point where I'm not absolutely just devastated and go into a spiral of like, oh, I guess I'm just not funny.
Yeah.
But once you get over that and you just take it as information of like, I either didn't deliver that right or that joke isn't working, then you can kind of make tweaks. But I find it cool that here you are, doing this experiment. You go to Harvard, living in a dorm, and you could just, what's the degree you're getting?
So it's a Master of Religion and Public Life, which is at the Harvard Divinity School. It's a relatively new program, only been around for 3 or 4 years, and there's only 9 of us. And it's an interesting collection of like Hollywood types and political types and some CEOs. And so, for example, there's a famous show called Judging Amy Brenneman. She's in my class, and there's some movie directors
right on.
in my class. Yeah. And then there's some lawyers and me, and I love riding motorcycles, and a buddy of mine who rides motorcycles with me, who's also a political type and a lawyer, had gone through this program a couple years ago, and he's like, God, it's the best year I've had. I needed a sabbatical, and I was just feeling so burnt out. I was like billing 70 hours a week, and I never made more money, but it's like it was like, it's not that you're working hard, but you're working hard on something that doesn't matter, And I just I just need some headspace, man. And so I remember he had such a good experience. I was like, let me go do that. And I always wanted to write a book called Disagree Better, where I help people to disagree better and help leaders to have civil discourse without losing trust. And so I used this year up here to write my book, which I just finished too. And so it's been like a 8-month Reiki session for me, just like self-care to get away from it all,
How cool, man. When does the book come out?
So I'm shopping it now with my literary agent, and so far what I'm getting is comments, the short version of, what a great writer. You have no platform at all. Nobody's ever heard of you. You're not famous enough. And so I was like, Jesus, it's like they would rather have a cookbook from George Clooney, than a chef, and I think it's true. I don't have this big platform. I don't have, a newsletter list with 90,000 people, but that's like the big thing that I'm coming up against, that you don't have a quote platform.
Yeah. And talk about, like, we were just talking about authenticity and in the age of like celebrity, but that was kind of a disappointment to the entire publishing world that I found with my book as well. It was like, yeah, if you have a huge platform, you could write anything, and we will publish it and put it out there and put it in the airport bookstores. But if not, so it's like, okay, I mean,
Yeah.
and that's why you see like Matthew McConaughey, he's I could write green lights and whatever,
Right.
and that's it's a fine book, but it's also like if I wrote that same book, they'd go, I don't know.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So,
Well, at least with respect to your book, I mean, the good news is because you do keynote speaking on that, it's sort of like a companion for your speaking, like it's a nice perk to be able to give to people when you go speak to, 500 people at a convention, I would think,
It works out great for me bringing books with me to those events, because that way when I'm sitting at the table meeting people, I have something to boost myself up with so I can see over the table. It's really super helpful. But yeah, it is like a big business card. It's like and it is nice to be able to have those. And I don't know if you feel this way, but like getting all of these thoughts and all of this research that you've been doing over time put into one place, there's something really nice about that, because I had been giving talks and I had been doing research on the topic of humor for years. So to have it all in one place is like, that is really nice.
Oh, yeah. How long did it take you a couple years, or how long did it take you to write it?
The thinking about writing it took about 5 years, and then the actual writing it took under a year.
Okay.
But that being said, I had written a lot of different articles and talks and things like that a lot of it was putting it together, because I had written a lot of it over the years, just not in the format of a book. And then when I finally did get a publisher who Wiley agreed to publish it, and they said, well, how long do you want us to give you to finish it? I had already done a couple chapters, and said, how long do you want? We can give you a year or so. And I go, give me 3 months. Because if you give me a year, I'll take a year, So like, I just went completely offline to the whole world. I knew at that point I had a very good idea of where the rest of the book was going. I had a lot of it, and I was like, let me just crank this baby out. So yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Are you doing another one, or are you done for a while?
Well, all the words I know are currently in this book.
Okay.
But yeah, at some point, there'll be another one. I'm not sure where that's at yet, but I'm excited about. I mean, I think your book though is so timely. Disagree better. I mean, it's really something that I think we all need to learn how to do. And your acronym LAW, the concept of that, along with not taking yourself too seriously, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I wanted something easy to remember. I mean, there's books on civility, like George Washington. There's 110 rules of civility, and there's some Johns Hopkins guy, 25 rules. I'm like, no, man, three things. It's like listening to understand, act respectful, and then wait 6 seconds to avoid amygdala hijack. So many things that we regret later saying is when you say it instantly. When you react to someone, I'm like, just chill for 6 or 7 seconds, and then you're going to be a lot happier. But by making it really simple, I think people can remember it. And it's also, there are 3 things that are within your control, right? And so I can't guarantee the other outcome. I know that if someone's a jerk to me and I'm still kind and I wait 6 seconds and I'm friendly, I know that most of the time they're going to reciprocate that way, but not always. But I'm going to be happier that I handled it that way. And so that's about all you can do.
And you won't have regret or apologizing to do as well. So yeah.
Right. And that's another thing. I think I try to get people, and my kids included, is like, I think apologies are underutilized. Like, if God forbid you do spout off during that, that 6-second window, it's like, I think apologies are a lot more powerful than people realize. And they just simple. Like, I'm really sorry. I feel horrible. That shit will never happen again. Like, just by being able to do that, like, it cures 90% of the situations. And it's sort of like self-deprecating humor. It takes confidence to do that.
Absolutely. I used to do work in restorative justice, where we would bring people who caused harm to somebody at the college level. I was like a disciplinary guy at university. And so somebody who caused harm to another person, and we'd bring them together for these restorative conferences. And in doing some of the research for that program, what we came across is that there are lawsuits for hospitals. And there was research done that up to 90% of these lawsuits could have been prevented if the patient had received just a real heartfelt apology. But of course, as a lawyer, like litigious wise, the hospital's like, well, we're not going to apologize. That's just obviously some us assuming wrongdoing, and that would screw us. But for the most part, people feel like I just want someone to apologize for what's happened. And I think it's the same with humor. Usually when we screw up and we say we're trying to be funny and we offend someone, the go-to is, it was just a joke, or you need to lighten up, or whatever. Yeah. When really the words you're searching for are, I apologize. I didn't realize how that was going to impact somebody else. And that, you're exactly right. That little simple thing goes a long way.
It does, and especially in the workplace setting. That's why I'm a big believer in self-deprecating humor, because that's not going to get you sent to the HR office, you know? And like I tell people, I give an example, like why it's self-deprecating humor is so powerful, because it's really not even that important that you're funny. It's just more important that you're human, you know? Like I'll give you an example. One of my big flaws in life, according to my friends, is I like this girly drink. I like to have Grey Goose and pineapple. It just tastes good to me. And I was at this football banquet, and I go up to the bartender and I said, I'm going to have a Grey Goose and pineapple. And I felt the need to put a white lie in. I said, it's for my wife. And he's like, dude, this is not for your wife, man. This is your second one. You're the only one drinking this shit, dude. It's just you. And he like busted my balls over that. And I tell people that story, and I go, if someone laughs, fine. But the point is, I'm human, Right. Even if you didn't laugh, you're like, okay, well, I got 99 problems, but at least I'm not like Keller, who likes girly drinks, It's just something that humanizes you. I think you can't go wrong. And especially in this day of the cancel culture and Me Too and people being sensitive, and like, I think anybody should 100% of the time stay away from the punching down stuff at work,
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a funny story though too. It's like I was picturing that you even take it like a step further. Like, now I just order a pineapple and Grey Goose and a beer, and then I just leave the beer somewhere.
That's right.
I'm spending double the money. Right. It looks like I'm bringing this to a lady, but really I'm just setting a Coors Light down.
I was out at Sturgis. I'm a motorcycle guy, and I'm at this Hell's Angels bar there, and I was like, I'm always trying to think of a cool way to order this drink, and so I said, hey, and I'm with my buddies. I go, hey, do you have a Macallan 45 Scotch, which nobody has? And they're like, no, we don't. I'm like, oh, well, just screw it. Just give me a pineapple and vodka then, And I'm always looking for the cool way to order the girly drink, but there is none,
That's great. Yeah, screw it. I'll raw dog it. Let's just go Grey Goose and pineapple. It's fine,
right.
Whatever.
That's right.
Do you do any bits about that? Like, do you use any of that in stand up about trying to order a girly drink at a motorcycle rally?
No, I haven't. I should.
That's a premise there. Yeah, that's definitely something you could work out for sure. That's funny.
It's funny because when most of my stand up is about 90% relationships, like train wrecks, going through divorce or bad dating, and I really don't do political stuff because I feel like and if I do it, it's about me, the butt of it, because I think it divides us. I don't really. I'm trying to bring people together, so I don't do jokes about Democrats or whatever. I'm trying to. If I do a joke, it's about politicians being egotistical, or you can't. They won't tell you the truth or something, but it's never partisan-y.
Yeah, never about the other side, doing this or that. Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think that's a good way to go too, because if they see, a white man Republican making fun of himself, then you're exactly right. That brings people together.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to what you said earlier, just psychological safety, and that's why this experiment at Harvard works so well. I mean, I go to LGBTQ rights, meetings and Buddhist meetings, and we don't talk about LGBT. We just talk about stuff we're interested in, and drinks and having fun. And there's a psychological safety that exists. They're like, oh, he's okay. He has my back. I'm not going to have to worry about Keller, screwing me over. And they're right. And it's just getting to know each other as humans, I do think goes a long way to creating psychological safety, and rightly so.
Yeah, beautifully said, man. I think it's a really cool thing that you're doing, just putting yourself, because you could say, hey, look, I'm going to take a year to write my book and get this degree from Harvard. And, you could just kind of go do it, put your head down, and, go to wine bars, off campus, wherever, and hang out. But the fact that you're using this to do an experiment of like, what if I hung out with these undergraduate students who on the surface are much different than me, and going to the LGBTQ club and putting yourself out there to, do stand up and that kind of stuff. The old saying, like, seek first to understand, and then to be understood. I mean, you're putting that into practice.
Oh, well, thanks, man. It's been it's been selfish. It's been a joy too. I've really enjoyed it. I'm graduating May 28th, and I'm actually done with all my exams and papers now. So just kind of chilling until then. But it's been a really interesting experience.
Yeah. And the last thing too is I saw your TikTok that went viral of your like first day in the dorm at Harvard. And it just was like exactly what you were talking about, just authenticity and, not having any agenda. You were just like, well, I'm here. I'm 61 years old here. My first day at Harvard, in the dorms. And I was reading the comments, man. The comments are so great. What did you think of when you did that and it kind of took off and got over 1 million views? And
I was shocked, and I had no idea it was blowing up. I go to classes and people are like, "Hey, I know you," and I'm like, "You do?" I'm like, "Yeah, you're on my TikTok feed." Or finally, my daughter at Florida, like, "Dad, just stop with the tick. Just be like a regular dad. Everybody's seeing this, Dad." 9 people come up to me, but yeah, I just essentially my daughter had made fun of me, my 14-year-old, saying, "No job, no car, living in a dorm. I'm going to write an article called The Rise and Fall of Ric Keller." And I just thought that was so funny. And so I put that on and it blew up. And it was crazy. I'm so illiterate in terms of technology. I didn't even know how to put like a heading on there. I just, put the short video on there, but that people get connected with it because it's just authentic,
I loved one of the first comments was like, "Me after taking 1 gap year." I'm like,
yeah, that's right.
It's so good, man.
Our bro is doing it to meet chicks, and what one person was like, what frat are you pledging? And, imagine that was your roommate, dude. You showed up and you got this old guy as your roommate. I was like, oh my God.
Hey, but I also saw some woman was like, "Hey, you need to tell me your skincare routine." So, hey, that's got to make you feel good. Hey.
That's right. Yes. No, people were very, very kind. And I did one saying, and I was truly scared. I'm not really good at technology. And I'm like, "Hey, I don't know how to do Slack or Canvas or Quizlet or any of this shiznit." And I got like a tutor out of it. Somebody said, "I'll help you, buddy. I'll help you."
Oh,
and so
that's awesome.
Yeah, so it really, it's been really, really cool. I'm not doing it anymore at my daughter's request. There's like, "Dad, just be yourself, like, but 20% better. Just lay off the TikToks." I'm not doing it anymore, but it was fun.
So that kind of brings me to this because, that's a cool story of people being good, you putting it out there like, "I don't know how to do this," and someone saying, "I'll help you." I know through this experiment you're doing at Harvard, even though we're in a very divided, weird political world right now, you're optimistic about where we're going. Why is that?
I'm optimistic for 2 reasons mainly. Number one, we're pre-wired to connect. There's this Harvard happiness study where went on for 85 years and like, what makes people happy? Is it money, fame, power, whatever? And it's social relationships. The only common denominator are positive social relationships. And so what the studies show is that if you were to spend time with friends 4 days a week, it's the equivalent to earning $100,000 a year extra in terms of happiness. On the other hand, if you were to be isolated 7 days a week, it's the equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Like it's killing us. Just quitting the bowling leagues and not going to Rotary clubs and stuff. And we need social interaction. And the second reason I'm optimistic is I know with certainty from travel the world as a member of Congress and my own experiment here is that we have far more in common than we have differences. Like all of us, Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative, black, white, all share the values of compassion and fairness. And we all like things like humor and music and sports and travel. And there's just so many more things that we have in common than we have difference. And I think we over-identify with our particular political labels or religious sect. And it's fine to have that, but like, yes, you may be a liberal Democrat, but that's not all you are. You're also a yacht rock music lover and you're a Tampa Bay Bucks fan. And I wish people would just focus more on the ways we are the same instead of just looking at the things we're different. But if they do that, I think we'll realize we have a lot more in common than what we have different.
Yeah, that's beautifully said, man. And you're exactly right. And hey, they say laughter is the shortest distance between 2 people. It's a common language. And so by using some self-deprecating humor every now and then, it does kind of disarm people a little bit and help us enjoy each other's company. So
I agree. I think if we can laugh together, we can work together. That's my observation for sure.
All right. We'll end on this. Your favorite yacht rock song?
Oh man, maybe Africa by Toto, and then Christopher Cross Sailing, maybe top 1 and 2.
Oh yeah. Sailing I thought you were going to go with, I can't believe we're not in love anymore.
That's up there, man. Michael McDonald and Kenny Loggins are up there.
Yeah, right on, man. Hey, this is really fun to talk to you. Thank you for doing this, and best of luck with the book. Where can people find you if they want you to speak about leadership or about how to disagree better?
Yeah, so I'm on rickeller.net, spelled RICKELLER.net, and also on LinkedIn. You can find me there. Yeah, reach out. I speak about disagreeing better and also leadership communication. So been speaking at a lot of universities lately, West Point and Harvard and University of Florida, and trying to do more of it in the future. So some other time I'll get some advice from you as to how to break in there a little bit.
You got it, man. All right. Well, those links will be in the show notes, so check them out. And again, if wherever you're listening to this, also subscribe to the podcast. It helps us a lot. Ric, thanks a lot, man.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it.
You've been listening to Laugh or Death with Paul Ozencup. If you're planning a conference or event and want something smart, meaningful, and actually funny, book Paul to speak. To learn more or to get a copy of his book, The Humor Habit, visit laughordeath.com.